Halloween is my favorite time of year, but I recently started to wonder exactly why that is. Because as much as there is something fun about spooky decorations and seeing pumpkin spice spam on the shelves, I think there's some conditioning that makes me just especially excited to see all these things come out. And as cliched as this might sound, I really think it's partially the weather. A lot of you guys probably noticed in my last video that I have gained a lot of weight, and one of the main reasons that tends to happen during this time of year is that during the summer it gets so humid that when you go outside for 2 minutes to check the mail, you're immediately like, I'm going inside, I'm taking a shower, and that's all the stuff I'm doing outside for the week. And meanwhile, a couple months later during the winter, if you get locked out of your place and you don't have your phone on you, they'll find you in the morning and they'll unthaw you just in time for the funeral. But during the few weeks in between those two, I get up early in the morning, I make myself a cup of coffee, I barely swing it, and I step out on that balcony, and everything is so perfect. I feel the breeze flow through me, and it's such a gorgeous temperature, and I just want to stand out there and appreciate it all day. And if not that, I want to go outside, I want to go on a long walk, I want to see all the leaves falling, everything turning to orange, I want to call my friends up, we can hang out as night falls and gather around a fire. And hey, while we're there, we might as well start sharing some spooky stories. In a previous video, we discussed the phenomenon of Slender Man, and how he was created by the Something Awful forums in a deliberate attempt by users to create a scary story that people would believe in. Well, arguably, that event helped kickstart an entire internet subgenre known as Creepypasta. For the period between 2007 and 2014, Creepypasta ruled the internet. But towards the end, their popularity started to decline. One could certainly make the case that what's mainly happened is just that the name Creepypasta has become less popular over time as it's continued to be associated with really stupid and lame stories. So as new authors have come out, like Adam Ellis with his story Dear David, they have wanted to separate themselves from those to find new and imaginative ways to be really lame and boring and terrible. But I also feel like there was this very tightly knit fandom, this community, that has absolutely faded over time, and creepypasta just aren't as unavoidable as they used to be. Basically, like most episodes of Fallen Titans, well, the pretense of the series and the setup for the episode implies that we're going to be taking a very literal look at the historical downfall of something that was once massively important to everyone and now doesn't exist in the slightest. In actuality, what this video is actually going to prove to be is some geek sitting in front of a shelf of toys and talking about something he has some vague nostalgic recollection of and making fun of it as sort of a way to say, hey, don't we change? Doesn't media age badly as we grow up? I don't know, it's just gotten to the point in the show where I can't keep up with this idea that titans exist and that your worth can be valued through your influence. I just want to talk about old internet stuff if that's cool with everybody. But before we begin, I want to talk about this very specific problem I've been having. So about a week ago, a kind of weird thing happened to me. An evil version of myself from a parallel reality broke through into this dimension, kidnapped me from my apartment, and tied me up in a basement where he essentially threatened to kill and replace me in a ploy to avoid the crimes he'd committed in his own dimension. It was kind of strange, but the thing that upset me most about it was that he had the same pair of glasses that I do, which I didn't like. Because, this is supposed to be like the relatively evil version of me. I don't know what it says about me that we have the same taste in eyewear. But I must say I'm in luck today because this video is sponsored by GlassesUSA.com. I am so excited for this one. I've been trying to get these guys on the channel for such a long time because I just really think it's a good brand, and I was so excited when they agreed to sponsor this one. GlassesUSA.com is an online service that helps you shop for an ideal pair of high-quality frames for a fraction of the price. Because the service cuts out the middleman, you can get a pair of glasses up to 70% off retail prices, with frames going as low as $30. $30 is a ridiculous amount to pay for a pair of glasses, and free basic prescription lenses are included with each and every frame. Selecting my glasses was so easy and so much fun. The site allows you to upload a photo yourself to test each pair in a virtual mirror, so you get to see exactly what each and every pair will look like in person. And this is an entirely risk-free shopping experience. with free shipping and returns, a full refund if your item doesn't arrive, and with insurance on every pair which lasts 365 days after purchase. Oh man, isn't there nothing more spooky than incredible saving? Isn't that scary? A person who read the script said I needed to make it more Halloween themed. Go to the link in the description down below for a chance to get an exclusive deal on whatever purchases you decide to make. As this video goes on, I'm going to be occasionally swapping what glasses I'm wearing because they sent me a lot of them. And this is cool because I've never been able to afford to have this many glasses. And so now I get to honestly get used to each look and decide which one I like the best. And I'd love to hear what you guys have to say as I change through all these looks. And if any of these glasses are sort of appealing to you, they will also be linked below. Basically, throughout this video, as I continue to ramble, I want to encourage you to go down to the description, check out that link, and tell me what you think of these glasses and these deals, because I promise you, you will not be disappointed. So the first change I'm going to be making for this video is I'm going to take these off and slip into these cute little, I believe they're called Ototo lenses, which are very delicate, and I picked these out because I'm a very big fan of the aesthetic of John Lennon, but I feel like you can barely see them on camera. And I also picked them up because they're going to help me with the Halloween costume I'm going to try and pull off this year. So the term creepypasta logically is based around being a portmanteau of the phrase creepy copypasta, which I feel is pretty self-explanatory. Creepypasta are defined not by just being creepy stories which are published online, but being creepy stories which are then copied and pasted to all corners of the internet. This can often mean that the origins of these stories can be very easily lost to time as they're spread further and further with less and less context. That is, of course, until the stories become so popular that the original creators want to start collecting royalties. The early evolution of creepy story spread online can be traced back to email chains that would come packaged with creepy connotations. You might recall a couple of these if you're old enough. It wasn't uncommon at the time to log into your email and see it flooded with various messages somewhat similar to, "This is the last known photograph of a teenage girl who was found murdered only a few weeks later. The girl seems to not notice the figure in the background, who is believed to be her attacker. Send this email to 20 of your friends, or else Blue Garfield will come to your house tonight, and you shall never be seen again." While it might make more sense to others to start this video by attempting to find some of the earliest examples of chronological creepypasta stories, I think I prefer to start with one of the most infamous characters throughout the entire lineage. In August 2008, Newgrounds user Killer Jeff uploaded this photograph. Little was known about the user at the time, but we do know that his name was indeed actually Jeff, and that he had taken a photo of a creepy mask, barely photoshopped, and was attempting to create a new story attached to it, which he hoped would scare any reader that came across it.
"This man is what other people call bizarre. He's like a Bloody Mary game, except you must perform it in the closet. Turn off the lights and sit down cross-legged. Repeat this saying 3 times while turning your head back and forth. He's in here with me. He's in here with me. He's in here with me." After the saying, close your eyes and call out the name Jeff. He'll appear by putting his face right up to you and proceed to yell and try to chant harm at you. To make him stop is to stand there and compliment him.
"I love what you've done with your hair."
Not doing so will result in a nightmarish field trip. You do the rest from there, worms.
Wanting to expand the lore of who Jeff the Killer had been before he became a demonic killer, he next moved to YouTube, where he uploaded a terrifying video going into the character's origins. Alright, I hope you guys are ready for this. Oh, that's just perfect. You gotta love that Windows Movie Maker like text fade. So the video starts off with this long clip of Jeff the Killer's disturbing face, and it's you might be wondering how he got this way, how he got so disturbed. And then it has some photos of this guy smoking, and it says this is his brother Liu. Jeff and Liu were really close, and it has a photo of this like teenager, and it says this was Jeff in his teen years. But my favorite part is that it just shows photos that has nothing to do with the story. Like, it shows a photo of spiders, and it says, like, oh, yeah, I took this photo with Liu. And I feel like that's the perfect representation of how these stories are usually written, where they always go on these completely pointless tangents that the writers are throwing in for legitimately no reason. This is the whole story so far. Jeff was hauling a gallon of acid into the bathroom to clean out his bathtub. He slipped on a bar of soap, in which he fell, and the acid splashed all over of his face. Damaging his face, the neighbor heard his cries for help and took him to the hospital. Leo was at work, but came over to the hospital as soon as he heard what happened to Jeff. Never again was Jeff the same. In all my years of hearing superhero origins and, villain flashbacks and anti-hero sob stories, I've never heard one that started with the phrase, "So I was trying to clean my bathroom." Jeff the Killer was cleaning his bathtub with industrial acid in like a giant tub, and he tripped and fell on the floor, and that's how he got his scars. A couple years later, a fan of the story attempted to do like a soft reboot that made the characters a little younger to appeal to a wider audience, and this is the version that most of you have probably heard, and I'm going to now relay to you. So in this version, Jeff and his brother Liu, they're 13, and they've just moved to a new town. And their mom meets the neighbors and learns that their neighbors are going to have a birthday party for a guy named Bobby. And the mom's like, hey, can my kids come over? And at first they're a little embarrassed because they're kind of older, and they're like, Mom, we don't know any of these people. But the mom is like, look, we just moved here. I want to get a chance to meet all these parents. Just roll with this. I think we'll have a good time. But the party's later in the day, so first they have to go to school. So they go to this bus stop, and they meet this bully who rides in on a skateboard and jumps over their legs. And he steals Liu's wallet and threatens him with a knife. So Jeff immediately, without thinking, just snaps. And he breaks this guy's arm and steals his knife and stabs him a bunch of times. And other people show up to try and stop him, but Jeff just kicks their asses too, and then they run off to school. I'm gonna have some good time learning some algebra. When they get home, their mama's waiting with the police, and the police have said, hey, a bunch of kids got stabbed, and they said one of you two started it, so one of you needs to fess up. And initially Jeff was like, okay guys, it was me, I'll face the consequences, because clearly we can't prove that these other kids started it. But then Liu steps up and says, no, it was me, Jeff wasn't involved at all. And for some reason all the adults are more willing to believe Liu than Jeff. I don't really know the logic there. And so they take Liu away, they put him in handcuffs, and they say, you're going to juvie for a year, and they drag him away. Liu's gone, Jeff is devastated, and the mom goes, hey, you better get dressed for that party. So Jeff goes to the party, and everyone at the party is a little younger, and he's embarrassed, but they're all playing cowboys, and he decides to join in, and it says that he enjoys it a little bit too much, which I think is supposed to imply that because he's enjoying playing cowboy, he's like a psychopath. But then the bullies from earlier hop the fence, and they show up, and they want revenge. And they start a fight with Jeff, and the adults come out and try and stop this, but then the bullies pull out guns and tell the adults, hey, you get involved, guns start flying. So they fight Jeff, and they start hitting him, and he gets on the ground, and he's not really doing anything. And they say he's a coward for letting his brother be sent to juvie without standing up for himself, and they tell him to fight him. And this is a mistake. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. He grabs Randy and pile drives him to the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. Jeff runs to the bathroom and the bullets start flying, but he dodges everyone. The fight moves into the bathroom, where one of the bullies knocks a shelf down, and I quote, a thing of bleach fell down on top of him. The bullies light a match, and Jeff catches on fire and falls back to ground level, where all of the adults gather around him. After seeing all the crazy stuff these bullies have been doing, the police figure maybe they started the fight earlier and they let Liu go. But by this point, Jeff is scarred for life, and he uses a knife to carve a smile into his cheeks and a lighter to burn his eyelids away, and then kills everyone in his family. My ultimate headcanon is that this second story didn't actually happen. and it's just something Jeff makes up to cover up for the fact that he absolutely got his scars because he tripped while he was trying to clean his bathroom. Jeff the Killer is the most famous creepypasta, and he's also the least respected, but I felt like we had to start there in order to set the stage for the rest of this video. Incidentally, this is a great time for me to swap glasses. A lot of creepypasta stories try to be built off of the fundamental emotions that come alongside vague, nostalgic memories. It was around this general time where a lot of communities started to be built with the sole goal of finding lost pieces of media, and specifically lost pieces of media that people remembered from when they were growing up. The core examples of this are Cracks and Clockman, two pieces of media which were at first lost, but were then found thanks to research based entirely on vaguely creepy childhood memories that certain users had of TV shows. I think this is something that a lot of people can relate to, because when you grow up watching a lot of television, as people tend to nowadays, you of course end up remembering specific moments that really had an impact on you without really remembering what those things were, or without the resources to track those things down. And so a lot of creepypasta from this time used the narrative focus of a piece of lost media in order to drive their stories. As a lot of you can probably guess, I am building up to talk about the famous Candle Cove. The original Candle Cove text works explicitly because it doesn't overstay its welcome. The story is presented as an archived forum, where different users are discussing their memories of a children's television puppet show, with each user having shared memories of the experience that would just make it seem more cheap and unsettling and not fit for children. And it's only in the final post that one user reveals that his mother claims that when he would think he was watching the show, he would actually just be staring at the TV, turned to static. And that's sort of it. It has the same creepy implication of a lot of these lost media posts, but also with the additional feature that there might be something sinister behind all of these shared memories. In order to understand a bit more of the context of this one, I ended up binging the first season of a show called Channel Zero, which was adapted from this story, and I was really blown away by just how good that show is. I say that with the slightest hesitation just because it's weird to say that about a creepypasta show. It's very Twin Peaks inspired, which I realize that every show that features a mystery or teenagers made after 1991 is going to be Twin Peaks inspired. But if you were to watch that season, you would totally get what I was saying. You'd be like, okay, yeah, this is Twin Peaks, but without James. So worse. But if I had to adapt a creepypasta into a serialized story, I wouldn't pick Candle Cove. I'm about to read to you the greatest piece of Western literature ever conceived. Ladies and gentlemen, Sonic.exe. So our main character is a guy named Tom, and he goes out of his way to tell us immediately he is the biggest Sonic fan imaginable, and his best friend is a man named Kyle. Now, Tom hasn't seen Kyle in about 2 weeks, which worries him, but one day he gets a letter from Kyle that comes packaged with a CD. And the letter says, "Hey Tom, it's Kyle. I need you to destroy this game because there's an evil spirit on it that wants to be released. And please don't play the game. Please listen to me, Tom. Please don't play the game because then you'll just release the spirit. You have to destroy the game." Well, that was certainly weird. Even though Kyle is my best friend and I haven't seen him in 2 weeks, I didn't do what he asked me. Oh boy. I didn't think a simple gaming disc would do anything bad to him. After all, it's just a game, right? Boy, was I wrong about that. Take notes, everyone. This is what us fancy writers call foreshadowing. So Tom puts this game in, and he is shocked to see that it's a copy of the first Sonic game. And he's hyped because he loves Sonic, but specifically he loves classic Sonic. I remember what the image looked like in that split second before the game cut to black. The sky had darkened. The title emblem was rusted and ruined. The Sega 1991 was now instead Sega 666, and the water had turned red, like blood, except it looked hyper-realistic. What freaked me out more was the character select. It showed only Tails, Knuckles, and to my surprise, Dr. Robotnik. Now I was sure something was up. I mean, how can you play as Robotnik in a classic Sonic game? This dude, saw this this image of the title screen like all messed up and with like realistic blood, a realistic river of blood that looked so real that he called it hyper realistic, and like Sonic's eyes are bleeding and there's all this horrible stuff. And it's only when he gets to the main menu and sees he can select an additional character that he's like, hold on, something's up with this game. Yeah, it definitely looked hacked. It was really creepy, but as a smart gamer, I wasn't scared. Or at least I tried not to be. I told myself that it was just a hacked game and there's nothing wrong with that. Anyways, shaking off the creeped out feeling, I picked File 1 and chose Tails. Yeah, so he plays this game, and it's not Sonic 1, because it's different locations that are all like bloody and on fire, and there's blood everywhere, and it's hyper realistic blood. To clarify that again, this isn't like pixelated blood. It's not like 3D blood. It is blood that is so real that he feels as if it's actually on his screen. And then Sonic shows up in the game, but he's distorted and disturbed, and an evil version of the character who wants Tom's soul, I believe. The image showed a hyper-realistic of Sonic standing in the darkness, where you can only see his face, while his head and torso faded into black. And when I say hyper-realistic, I mean like he looked so real that you could actually see the lines in his blue fur, as if you could actually feel the fur if you touched the screen. His face, oh God, he has the most horrifying smile I had ever seen. And that's saying something considering I saw that image at the start of the game. So Tom plays this game, and in every level, no matter what he does, this demonic Sonic appears and chases the player. And as Tom continues to lose more and more characters, he sees nightmarish visions of Sonic taunting him from another realm with the captured souls of all these characters, and additionally, Kyle. It's only when he's lost for the final time that he truly understands what this all means. Sonic is the very embodiment of evil. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one. Sorry, that got me. He tortures people who play his game in more ways than one, and then when he gets bored, he drags you into the game. Literally drags you into hell, where he can play with you always as his toy. I can't get the game out of my computer. I think it's stuck there, but at least I managed to turn it back on now. After I sat there for 25 seconds, I heard a voice right behind me, like a whisper. Try to keep this interesting for me, Tom. I turn around to see where the voice came from, and what I saw made me scream. Sitting on my bed, staring at me, was a Sonic plushie, smiling, with bloodstains under its eyes. And that's it. That's the end of the story. That's the cliffhanger there. There's a plushie on his bed. There's something that should be said about the fact that when people try and make Sonic, friendly, he's horrifying, but when they try and make Sonic creepy, he just defaults to hilarious. I think about Sonic.exe more often than I should. It really lives rent-free in my mind, and I have so many questions about his existence. Some days I convince myself it was just an elaborate parody, partially because that's very believable, and also because it just helps me sleep at night if I believe someone made this whole story as a joke. This story blew up because someone made a game based on it, and then PewDiePie played it and pretended to be scared. But a while after this, it got banned from most of the major wikis because of how obviously bad it was, and the author got really upset. As you can see, I am furious with the fact that my masterpiece, which has won the hearts of millions and has made a massive impact on the internet, is being brought down by a bunch of jealous, arrogant, furry haters. That does not mean I am just going to sit down and take this lightly. Nope, 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 nope! They have been messing with the bowl, and now they've called out the horns. Listen, everyone, I need your help with this. We are at war here. I want every Sonic.exe fan who is reading this to get the word out. You see what I mean? Doesn't that sound like a character bit that someone would do as a joke to mess with people? No matter the intentions, Sonic.exe represents a general trend of creepypastas sacrificing whatever little dignity they had left for the sake of becoming more popular than ever before. SuicideMouse.avi, Dead Bart, and Squidward Suicide all tell basically the same story. The viewer at some point sees an episode of a television show which was never released, and in each case the episodes include something that's disturbing in a subtle way. Dead Bart features the cast of The Simpsons dealing with real trauma and realistically reacting to the death of their son. Squidward's Suicide deals with SpongeBob helping the town of Bikini Bottom bully Squidward until he ends his life. And Suicide Mouse.avi features Mickey Mouse, he's walking, and then the video quality suddenly isn't as good. Spooky shit. The problem I have with all these short stories is they don't have the same restraint that Candle Cove did. I think one of the most powerful moments in the original Candle Cove text is where two users begin arguing over if a certain memory they have of the show was a nightmare or was a real episode they all saw. But the characters in these stories have this weird photographic memory where they can describe to every inch of every frame that they saw of the original thing, and usually it's nowhere near as scary as just the idea of what they're trying to sell. I mean, you can put blood all over the walls and do whatever you want, but that's not really what's supposed to be alluring about the story. And it became a bit of a cliche that people who would try and review or respond to creepypastas would pretty much exclusively try and prove that these stories weren't true. But it wasn't just that people who didn't like creepypasta were cynical, but rather that a lot of creepypasta stories didn't go that extra mile to seem believable, and thus they weren't nearly as scary as they could have been. Now, by the point that creepypasta had hit this point in its development, a lot of people had started to use this style of storytelling to make pieces of art, which led to this strange subgenre of video productions which are somewhere in between creepypasta and ARG. A great example of this is Petscop, which presents itself as a playthrough of a lost PS1 game, but slowly reveals more and more creepy features. This is what creepypasta should be at its finest. It's unsettling, it's believable enough to either make you feel spooked or make you want to commend the creator for their hard work, and, most importantly, it's not inherently destructive. Because at the same time that creepypasta became infamous for being really funny and not scary at all, it also started to be criticized for being a negative influence on the developing minds of children. When I was in high school, I knew this guy who, how do I put this the right way? He made me uncomfortable. Let's go with that. The reason he made me uncomfortable is he would threaten to harm me, and I think other students as well. So what he would occasionally, every few days, he would tell me some way that he was gonna kill me. But I never took it seriously because it was always just dumb, edgy, 12-year-old shit, and the guy was older than me. So he would say stuff like he was going to cut my stomach open and he was going to pull my entrails out and he was going to do something stupid with my entrails. Maybe he'd strangle me with them, I don't know. And the whole appeal of this was that I'm awake the whole time. I'm watching him do this stupid, tedious stuff and just wasting both of our times. And I know there must have been some behind-the-scenes administrative efforts to get him to stop doing this to everyone that I just didn't see. But I also strongly remember him getting a job writing for the school newspaper where he was contributing dark poetry, and they were encouraging him to channel all that into really edgy, lame poems. With the exact same tone as him threatening to do shit to my entrails. Half of creepypastas I read, it's oh, that fucking guy wrote half of the creepypastas that exist on the internet, you know what I mean? I mean, it's just this tone where it's somewhere in between someone trying to be edgy for the sake of edgy because they think it'll give them attention, and someone venting real revenge fantasies they have that they probably need to tell a therapist about. While I was working on this script, I sort of expected there to be this crescendo at some point where I would transition into the modern age, as I usually do with this series, and I would talk about a couple more interesting stories. But right about here, I hit this weird wall where I was no, I'm done. No, this is it. We're done. And I was worried that that meant the video was bad, but everyone seems to agree, like, yeah, we're done, that's it, that's Creepypasta, you did it. There is one big way that Creepypasta do survive today, and that's through the original Creepypasta subreddit, which is still active today, and that is called R No Sleep. And I'm actually on R No Sleep a lot, not because I think the stories are creepy, but because I enjoy reading just the titles, and they always make me laugh. I have an unusual job. The pay is good, but I really hate the moaning sounds that go with it. The previous tenant of my new flat left a survival guide. I'm not sure I want to live here anymore. Something's really weird about my new sexy neighbor. I caught my grandfather talking to an air vent. My name is Lily Madwhip, and I don't need a therapist! There's a man who follows me around and narrates my life. And he's starting to say some unsettling things. I found an extremely bizarre internet survey. I've been trying to leave my bathroom for the past 30 minutes. My self-help tape told me to kill myself. Why I'll never work at Applebee's again. My patient wears a tinfoil hat, and now I know the horrifying reason why. And the spookiest of all, my rich American family. It's too real. Suffice to say, the future of scary stories online is in safe hands. So, as another reminder, this video is brought to you thanks to our friends at GlassesUSA.com. They sent me a bunch of glasses, and I had an absolute blast unwrapping all these and just having fun with them. And I've just been really blown away with the quality of every pair, and I've just been trying to figure out which ones are my favorite. I'm very fond of these, the little Lennon ones I put at the start of the video. I think they look nice, and they're very neat, but I think these are too nice for like day-to-day use, and so I think I'm leaning towards one of the black pairs, specifically this one. I think that's a good look, and it's just a really good pair of glasses, so I think this is probably what I'm going to stick with. You know, I realized while I was making this, I've had this problem pretty much ever since I started having glasses, where I'll occasionally lose my glasses, and I'll have to spend like 40 minutes to a couple of hours like looking all over my apartment for them, you know, and I've realized, you know, I legitimately never have to do that again. I feel sort of bad I haven't gotten to like really show all these off, because they are really nice. And you know, alongside that link in the description that will give you an exclusive deal, you should also find a link to every pair of glasses I wore in this video, so if you like any of them, go check them out for yourself. I would definitely recommend any of these to you guys, because you know, these are all so gorgeous, and I can't wait to like wear these out in public, you know. Once again, all those links are in the description, and I'm just really so excited to see you guys react to this one, because this one has been fun. I hope we get to do this again. Okay, so this should be the end of the video and the Patreon crawl, and what I like to do during these parts of the video sometimes is to do something a little extra that's sort of quick and fun, to fill in the space as we see all these fantastic names go by. If you want to support me on Patreon, I'm really trying to beef it up, because you know, I just want to have that consistent backing behind me every month, and I just am really appreciative of all the people who have supported me in that way. I showed off earlier, I have this can of pumpkin spice Spam, and I thought I could cook up a little bit of it, and we could do a live review. I grew up in the Midwest, so I have a weird like relationship with Spam, where I know it's supposed to be garbage and everyone hates it, but it's also sort of like, I feel a little nostalgic for it, and sometimes it can be a comfort food. You know, my family would often cook like macaroni and Spam, both because it was comfort food and because it was like a really cheap meal for the night. And I think around twice a year, I'll buy a can of Spam entirely unironically, and I'll cut it up into slivers, and I'll fry it like bacon. And that first bite, I'm like, oh my god, Spam is so good. Why do people trash talk it? And by the time I'm through the third sliver, I'm like, Spam is the most disgusting thing on the entire planet. And so then I'll throw it away, but within an hour, I'm like really craving Spam all of a sudden. I'm really terrified to try this, and not for the reason you probably expect, but because I've heard it's actually kind of good, and I don't want to like this, please. Alright, we're gonna do this. Here we go. I'm not proud of this. This does not look appetizing, does it? Oh my god, this kitchen smells like gingerbread now. That's not right. Alright, this is it. Oh my god, this is terrible. Thank God. Oh my god, it's so bad. And you know what? I paid $15 for this, which is ridiculous. I don't care if a can of Spam is signed by all 4 Beatles. It shouldn't cost 15 goddamn dollars. Oh, I hate it so much. It's like bland. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, it has the same slimy texture of regular Spam, but just like, it tastes like pumpkin straight out of the can, you know what I mean? Like, it's not right. What am I gonna do with the rest of this? The birds won't eat it. Bonbon, do you want a nip? Here, do you want a nip? Try that. Wow, she rejected that. The joke was supposed to be that I really didn't think she would eat the Spam, but then she started eating the Spam, and then she got really mad that I wouldn't give her more Spam. Cats are supposed to have a limited amount of salt intake every day, and Spam has a ridiculous amount of salt, so it's generally a bad idea to feed Spam to your cats. Please don't feed Spam to your cats because you watched me do it in this video. This was a grave mistake. I shouldn't have done it. Hey, so I was going to end this video by me going to bed, and Blue Garfield was going to be on my bed, and he was going to kill me, but I don't know. I feel like I've sort of overdone the whole meta parody thing this month. So, yeah, instead, the video's over. Bye!